Hello and welcome to this Colour of the Month guide. In this series, we'll explore how to use your Citadel colour paint range to get some exciting colour combinations and army schemes. This time, we'll be looking at painting Sinister Red, with bright and bold highlights and darker, richer undertones. The paints and equipment that we'll be using are on the screen now, but you can use whatever brushes you feel most comfortable with and change the medium with water instead. For this guide, I'll be showing you the steps on an Inquisitorial agent's coat and hood. All the steps we'll be using can be used on a lot of different models, so I'll show you 2 other examples later on. If you're new to painting or want to brush up on your skills, you can check out the Citadel Colour Painting Essentials playlist to learn all about paints and painting techniques. Before we even start painting, we'll undercoat our agent in Chaos Black. This just gives us a nice solid colour to apply our reds to. But don't worry if you may be painting this over other colours or as part of a project you've already started. First off, we'll need to base coat our cloth with Mephiston Red and a small base brush. We want a smooth but solid finish once it's all dried, so we'll need to apply 2 to 3 coats until we're happy with the colour. The thinner you apply it, the more coats you'll need, but it avoids adding brush strokes and obscuring details or folds. Of course, if you're using this guide to paint something much bigger, you can change up the brush size depending on the scale of the model. Now we have our base coat applied to the cloth, we can look at adding some darker shadows. To add some shadows and depth, we'll thin down 1 part Nuln Oil with 1 part Lahmian Medium with a medium layer brush. This is creating a lighter black shade for us to apply all over the cloth. We don't want to apply too much though, as we can always apply more later on, rather than all in one go. Just remember to let each layer dry, but also keep an eye out if it starts to pool if you apply too much. Just take it off with a clean, dry brush. You can always apply another lighter coat into the recesses if you want more depth, and you can tidy up any raised areas or patches with Mephiston Red if needed. Now we have the shadows built up gently, blending into the brighter red, we can add some highlights to sharpen those edges. Now we can add our first highlight of Evil Sun Scarlet with a small layer brush. We need to apply some light, thin lines to define the cloth edges and folds. So take your time and make sure your brush is pointed by rolling it on the palette. Then we can pick out the majority of edges and fold of the cloth. This sets where all the other highlights will follow, to create the light and depth for the red cloth. Try to keep the line as thin as possible, but if it is a bit thicker in places, just go back over with the last colours we used. This red is looking nice so far, but I want to make it really stand out, so let's keep going with a few more steps. Next, we'll start to pick out the higher edges and folds with Wild Rider Red. Using the same techniques as our first highlight, we just want to add this in areas where the light will hit more or on the very corners where edges meet, so we add even more depth and definition to the model. Just remember to keep your paint thin and your brush pointed. Then you'll have that second highlight done super quick and neat. And to finish off, we'll add a very small dot highlight of Cadian Flesh Tone. We just want to get this on the very ends, tips and highest points of the highlights with this colour. And seeing we don't have too much of this colour to paint, it should be super quick. But we also want to take our time, so we don't slip and make a mess of our finishing step. And there you go, one Inquisitorial agent in their dark but rich red coat. But you don't have to just use it on cloth. It can be used for different materials on different models. On this Tyrannid Termagant, we have used the same steps and colours to paint the carapace by adding a lot more highlights in small choppy lines on the edges. This gives us the same dark shadows, a subtle red base and lighter edges for a more organic look. And for this Cruel Boy Gut Ripper, I've used this to paint the metal scare shield. You can even add some metal scratches on top with some Rhinox hide and Stormhost silver. For more tutorials, head over to the Warhammer YouTube channel. Or if you want some help in person, you can always go to one of our Warhammer stores where our amazing staff would be happy to help you. Well, we hope you enjoyed this video and we'll see you next time. Bye bye!